Hey, New York Jet fans from all around the world. Welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast, the show that delivers you all your Jets content. Here are your hosts, John, Adden, and Monty. All the best to the New York Jet fans. J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets. Go Jets.
Yeah!
Let's go.
Let's go!
Shout out to Fireman Ed.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes.
Fireman Ed. That was amazing.
Shout out
Appreciate
to
you.
Fireman Ed. Yeah, that was not cheap, but okay. Doesn't matter. That was awesome. Welcome to Laugh Through the Turbulence, a New York Jets podcast. This is episode 6 with the whole gang. We're your hosts. You got your name wrong, Adnan, but that's okay. He's awesome anyway.
Listen, it's close enough, man. Close enough. I'll take it.
Yes, but that's okay. So yeah, let's get the little banner thing there. And we got some big news today in Jets world that we're going to talk about. Big news.
New news.
Yeah, besides the stuff that's going on with our show, but that's okay. I'll announce that stuff later. But the big news of the day is Laken Tomlinson was cut by the Jets today, which is a big deal because that was a guy who basically played every snap for the New York Jets for the last 2 years, was our biggest signing in 2022, and he's gone. And I guess I will let you guys kind of duke it out with your thoughts on it at first, but yeah, it's some big news for the Jets. So who wants to go first?
Good, Monty. Come on.
I'll jump in there, man. I mean, first and foremost, it's good. It's good in that, he was, one of the highest cap figures on the team. I mean, I understand, that he was about $18.8 million in total cap hit for 2024. He had, I believe, 3 avoidable years on his contract for an additional $4.86 million. So, it was a big hit, that we had. And for what were we really paying for? I mean, his run blocking, was trash 2 years in a row. He had one okay year of pass blocking, but his pass blocking fell off tremendously last year. I'm sure, John, you'll pull up the PFF numbers in a bit here and show it to us. But, I do know he allowed over 30 pressures 2 years in a row at 30. I believe it was 30 last year and 35 this year. He is tied for third place in sacks allowed in 2023. Honestly, the only positive he had, you guys already mentioned, he's a warrior. He, played every snap, blah, 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 blah. But, what's good if, what's the use if someone's mediocre and there all the time? It's like you almost rather have the guy who's great when he plays, but maybe doesn't play every single game than the guy who just is mediocre. I'm glad to see him go. Sorry, Laken.
Go ahead.
I agree. I think, with Laken Tomlinson, it just the money didn't match the production at the end of the day, right? We can go through the stats, we can go through the PFF grades, we can go through, all the numbers we want, but we can also use our eyes, right? And when we were watching the Jets, it was just, you knew there was something wrong on that left side. And one of the things that I found interesting is when the news first broke, Connor Hughes kind of alluded to a little bit about kind of a thought that we had, whereas if you put Tomlinson in between Tippmann and a better left tackle, he kind of said, no, that would rectify the issue. We had that thought as well, but the Jets didn't. So I think now better to move on, get some fresh blood in here. There are a lot of good interior offensive linemen in this free agent class. So I think that's something that they can really take advantage of. Luckily, AVT and Tippmann do provide versatility. So if you did want to sign a center, move AVT or move
Tippmann to guard.
Move AVT to tackle. So there's a lot you can do there with the 2 guys that they have remaining. So I know it seems like a lot filling 3 offensive line spots, but I think it's definitely doable, especially with, I think it was about an $8 million cap savings. So they're on their way. Now, I'd like to see Uzama next, but, see what happens there.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we say this when we talk about these things, because a lot of this stuff is going to come up. Monty, you said it. None of this is personal, right?
Right.
It's not
Absolutely.
personal. Tomlinson really, really, put his head down, played through injury, was the only consistent guy they had, and you appreciate that. And you wish him, the best. Hopefully he catches on somewhere and can have a productive, rest of his career.
Yeah. And just to add to that really quick, if for anyone watching, if I ever say someone, sucks, I mean, obviously I know I could never do what even a third string, fourth string player on any team in the NFL can do. I can't even match probably most, college students can do, on an NFL field, not at this age, not at this situation. So, take anything I say with a grain of salt. When I say Laken sucks, I know I can't jump on the line and play his job, but I mean, relative to the talent that's out there, the talent that is possible for us to have, I think he's not pulling his weight.
Yeah, and to add on a little more to that, I think the Jets deserve better. Aaron Rodgers deserves better. This offense deserves much
and the fans
better.
And the fans deserve better, first and foremost.
Yeah, we deserve a lot better than what Tomlinson gave us. So,
because I think recently didn't they just come out with figures that the Jets were the number 2 most attended franchise in the league. So we had the number 2 highest attendance in the league. Our fans are loyal. Our games are popular. And the fans deserve better. So, John, I want to hear your thoughts. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on this one. And there's a couple of reasons for it. For one, when we were doing our free agency blitz in 2022, there was my buddy Jon, another Jon, who I do not want on the show because all he does is just hates on everything that happens in the show. I don't know why I'm
bring him on. I love that. Bring him on. Bring him on. I'll break his balls. I don't care.
I haven't even told him that we're doing this because I just don't want to hear it from him nonstop, right? But here's the deal, right? There was he said to me, John, what are 4 free agents the Jets are going to sign, right? In the beginning, because he likes anything I say and it's wrong. He's like, you're wrong, right? So I said 4 names. 2 of them were right. It was Laken was one of them, was the top one, and DJ Reed was the other one because I was watching Joe Blewett videos and he was like, DJ Reed is a guy, So I was like, okay, and when they got Laken, I was ecstatic, right? Because it made sense at the time, right? We were going to a San Francisco style offense, right? And the grades, that we saw, basically everything we saw from him in San Francisco.
He was a Pro Bowler in 21.
Yeah, he was.
I wasn't a scrub.
We were not supposed to be worried about this position, right? The only thing that was bad about this was the fact that he also played left guard and he wasn't going to be able to go to the right side. And you had AVT. So, one of them had to move and it was going to be AVT, right? But the other thing I liked about Laken was that if you've ever seen him do an interview or anything like that, he just seems like a good culture fit, right? And that was one thing that was heavily preached with this regime, right? Yeah. Culture was a big thing, right? And also he was always available, right? Which was another thing that we really did not have. You can't name, it's crazy how many injuries we've had, and he was the constant. And he had games where he was good, and he had games where he was just non-existent, basically. And it just really sucks. And a $10.7 million dead cap hit, which I think gets spaced out, is going to sting, right? And we do save about $8 million from this whole thing, which go ahead. Yeah.
I didn't want to move from that. I wanted to bring that up. So I read a little bit about how his contract was structured, and correct me if I'm wrong, what have you. But here's something I didn't understand, or I was trying to figure out was so before June 1st. Okay, what I've read and researched is that the dead money was 10.7 plus there was another 4.86. So his total hit for this year, because we released him now, is 15.6 million, which saves us about 3.28 million from the 2024 cap. If it was after June 1st, it would have been the 10.7 mil but we would have saved a total of $8 million. However, that would have been deferred to later years.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to figure out is what pressed that decision. Why do we do that now versus later? Because from what it seems to say is that we would have saved more now had we waited till June, but we're saving less later because that's a deferred out. I don't know why would we make that kind of a consideration in a year that's a do or die back against the wall year.
Yeah, I think it's just because you have free agency right now, and you basically want to know what you can do with your money, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, essentially, like, the move is to do it now, just so you can be very aggressive in free agency to fill your offensive line. And, like, you know, and we'll go to the spreadsheet thing that I have put together, which basically goes through all the different offensive positions and, like, you know, projected cap, contracts basically for all these guys, right? But I think that's the reason why they did it.
Gotcha.
Now.
Yeah, and just to kind of simplify just a little bit what John is saying is that if you designate somebody a June 1st cut, you can't use that money until after June 1st. So in order to utilize it, you know, for this free agency period, you take that hit in order to have the funds freed up now.
Got it. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense, and I think that clarifies it for anyone who might be watching and not necessarily understand the intricacies of cap. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that was definitely clear, you know, when we talk about that. So that was good.
And by all means, we're not total experts. I mean, I've tried reading everything about the cap. With your options and things like that. It's like these, like, it's not easy to understand.
I mean, look, that's why these guys get paid the big bucks to negotiate and understand and navigate these things. So, you know, being, you know, a lay person at home, you know, we're not going to obviously know every single in and out, but I think we have a pretty good handle being lifelong football fans, you know.
And you know what sucks? I hate to say it because I thought the Jets were going to keep him to kind of just salvage how many positions they had to fill. So it's right now.
Yeah, I know. It's tough, you know, because now that's 3 for sure lineman, you know, positions that we need to fill in one offseason when the track record on, you know, nailing O-line just hasn't really been there for us, you know, throughout this regime.
Well, obviously, with the combine coming up, that's going to kind of dictate some other things. I mean, the combines, the way the calendar works, just so everyone knows, combine's like coming up right now, right? And then all of a sudden, free agency really kind of just starts, right, and all that, right? Like, I guess that's how it works, right, in the calendar year.
Yeah, so it's the combine starts today, actually, and then the combine will go through this week, and then the free agency starts mid-March. So there'll be a couple of weeks. You know, then you'll have the legal tampering period, which is what it is, and then you'll go into free agency. You know, so we're getting there. Just a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And I guess the thing to do maybe now, if you guys are agreeing with it, we go to start looking at free agency right now, right?
Well, wait, one other question I want to stay on Tomlinson really quick is why do we think, just, you know, why do we think it didn't work out with him? Because, you know, as we brought up, you know, the guy was, you know, he wasn't supposed to be this bad. You know, he's coming from, he had a banner Pro Bowl year, you know, in 2021 with San Fran. Was it just that he was just around so much talent that, you know, he got, you know, his any mistakes or any weaknesses or deficiencies might have been covered up? Or, you know, is this just a coaching thing on our end? Obviously, when you have a carousel of, you know, quarterbacks like we did, you know, and you don't know where your QB is going to be from play to play, I understand that impacts, you know, the position and your ability to play on the O-line. But, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, he should have been better. So, and we've seen him capable of better. So why do we think this really didn't work out, you know, for Tomlinson specifically?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll try to give it a go here on this one. Strictly, I mean, I think, it's a bit of coaching. It's a bit of the fact that in San Francisco, he had the best left tackle in the league at the time. Right. I think Sewell's the best right now, but Trent is
Trent's right neck and neck with
right there. But Trent was so above and beyond better than everything in
that year.
Yeah. So like that kind of that does correct a lot of stuff. But the other thing to really consider on this one, the guy getting the ball in San Francisco at the time, it was Jimmy G, who did learn from the best in terms of a pre-snap read, right? Or one of the best, Tom Brady, right? So like, a guy like that can kind of see stuff happening, about to happen, right? Better than most that Jimmy G doesn't get credit for because since those injuries that he's had have really kind of hurt him, and on top, it's just really been a downfall for him. But he can pre-snap read, right? And unfortunately, last year, 2022, Zach was not there yet, right? And even last year, still not as much. But the guy Aaron Rodgers, the GOAT, right, in my opinion, can pre-snap read, right? So that's something to kind of just remember there. Like maybe it's just a combination of those things, and it just sucks. Or maybe it's the turf. We could just blame the turf, right? Why not? Even though he didn't get hurt.
Blame the turf monster.
I think from my perspective, I also think, let's just be honest. It's very hard to replicate what Kyle Shanahan does, right? And Kyle Shanahan has a very unique ability to get his players, in the best positions to succeed across the offense. So I think that had a lot to do with it, where he wasn't asking Tomlinson to do things maybe he couldn't do, maybe he wasn't comfortable doing, right? And he kind of tailors the offense to his personnel. And so I think that's a big piece of it. Whereas, he's played for a couple of different offensive coordinators, bunch of different quarterbacks, bunch of 2 different offensive line coaches, right? So I think that kind of just wears on a guy who's used to consistency, used to being used in a way that really highlights his strengths. And, I'll put a lot of this, like I will with the Jets offense, I'm going to put a lot of it on the coaching. We can't move away from how inept this Jets offensive coaching staff has been since Robert Saleh took over. And so I think that's a really big thing when we're discussing any moves on the offensive side of the ball, how this offensive staff, I think, did a disservice to a lot of these guys. And I think Tomlinson is one of them that was affected by that.
Yeah. And I guess, let's just say that, let's just be kinder with our word on this one, right? I would say the struggles on offense were real, and there's a lot of fingers to point out on this one, right? And also, like, injuries do make a difference, right, on that one. And it just the whole thing just sucks. But I guess maybe this is a good segue to kind of just show the Laken stats, if that's cool. Maybe to go with that, right? Yes, to kind of give context here on that. So I guess everyone can see my screen. What's interesting is, all right, so for some reason PFF fixed this, right? I can't see the last row for some stupid reason on this browser, but maybe I just can't change browsers. But the passing blocking, 2022 is actually not terrible. But and this is the real column to look at, because these numbers are just going to be their formula, right? But the efficiency thing is the thing that really is key in terms of pass blocking, right?
Right.
A 97.6 was actually, which is basically your ability to stop pressure, right? That's pretty decent. It's not great, but it's pretty decent. It gives you a decent grade of 70.2. But then last year was just horrific. Just look at the jump in pressure.
It's his worst year.
Yeah, 7 sacks is a big no-no. But at least in 2022, he only gave up 1 sack, or was credited for 1 sack, right? Mm-hmm. So it's I just don't know. But it's just crazy because just look at the Niners with the Niners, right? The efficiency was actually better, relative to this last 2 years in San Francisco, which is what he, I guess, attracted everyone to him, right?
Correct, and it's what we needed,
right? Yeah, but the pressures were about the same still, but this just was not a good year for him, and the run blocking really, really caked out. Maybe that's a Trent Williams thing, right? Because that does do something, right? But it is what it is. And then just look at these games, right? Some games are going to be really good. The Kansas City game, the run blocking was non-existent basically in that game, but he had some games that were pretty decent, right?
Yeah, he played okay against the Raiders. He showed up for let's see. He showed up, it seems, versus the
not bad against
Patriots.
Buffalo.
Patriots, 1 pressure allowed, 1 hurry. I know you can't really see it here, but it's just a mixed bag, man. Miami game, forget about it.
Yeah, very few games was he a complete player,
and I think that's what they're looking for, right? Is somebody that can come in, because like you said, Monty, I'd rather have somebody now. I'll kind of push back a little bit on the injury piece of it, but I'd rather have somebody that's a consistent, just to use a consistent 80% than someone's 90% one game, 40% the next.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I think they just need consistency out of the guys that they're bringing in.
Absolutely, especially out of the starters.
Yeah, I don't understand how we actually won this game, Philadelphia game.
Well, they must not have been pressuring us that hard there. I don't know, but what was that?
The Giants game was crazy, though. That was really bad. New England first time round, I thought that was one of the better O-line performances overall from a group. It was just like we just couldn't run the ball. We couldn't do anything. It was raining that game. Washington, 5 pressures, a lot. Denver, everything was pretty okay at that point, but I don't know. It just totally sucks, man. Because it leads to the next question, what the hell do the Jets do in free agency now to kind of fix that, right? And
get a new offensive line coach.
Keith Carter seems like he's saying.
I know. To my chagrin as a Jets fan.
Maybe this is the next transition, right? Is to kind of look at some of the free agents, the names that are out there. Right, and kind of what their projected caps are, and maybe some stats on them. If that's cool, because I kind of did some PFF grinding where I this is what I did, people. I basically took what they had for all the all the guards, tackles, receivers, and quarterbacks, even to basically just see hey, who's available, right? And I probably should have done this for center too in the event that Tippmann moves, but I did not. So I'm sorry, but essentially, what we got here is essentially. Basically those positions that I just talked about, right? And I put it all in Excel because I'm an Excel whiz. If someone wants to hire me for it, that's cool.
Nerd.
This is what John does in his free time, plays with Excel.
I actually do it too. I just don't brag to you guys about it.
With me. I mean, basically, look, this is the crap that I had to deal with. The export looked like this, and I basically had to put it together. So if someone like JP Morgan wants to hire me, yeah, please do it. But anyway, this is what we got. So I did guards, right, for starters, right? And this is basically what you got here. You've got position ranked by PFF, which is basically their ranking on who's out there and available. So you got guard over here. You got their age, and I did a conditional format to basically say younger is better, older sucks, right? The team that exists. For some reason, Glasgow, I think, was cut or something went wrong there. So whatever. And this is what their PFF grade was, and this is what their contract projections are. The guaranteed money, the years, and the average, and also PFF's WAR, which I think is kind of important to look at too.
Yes,
now, essentially from this, you got the top 12 names, right? And some other positions are going to have more names listed, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this is the 12 names that are here. And there's some interesting names on here, right? That maybe could be had for cheaper, right? Obviously, Dodson would be the big cake, right? And so would Robert Hunt, right? But, I mean, are you going to really spend $17 million a year again on a guard? And I think, by the way, Spot Track does a pretty decent job typically with these contract stuff, but I think PFF does the projected contracts better, especially where they have Huff, right?
And these are PFF overalls, right? Not pass block.
Right here, yeah, it's the overall grade. Yeah,
okay,
I did not. I mean, if you want me to basically go in here and then look at blah blah, give me.
Yeah, I kind of expect that, John.
Slacking.
God, do it. Do it fully or don't do it, man.
Too busy golfing, dude. All right, so anyway, obviously Dodson is the best name on the board, right? Hunt is great too. Zeitler is also really interesting too, especially, but 7. I'm telling you what, if you can take the money you save from Laken and get Kevin Zeitler, which right now is aimed at $7.5 million. Although these are just projections before the bidding wars start for these guys. I mean, I would do that. I mean, he's a little on the older side, but he's available most of the time, right? And also he has the highest score grade of them all, right? A 0.42, which is interesting in itself. I'm not sure what goes into that formula either. But then here's a name we all seen before, Greg Van Roten. Man, actually a better grade than Zeitler.
And for super reasonable.
I mean, Glasgow's really interesting as well, and he's 2 years younger than Van Roten.
And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't care about any of these guys' ages, because as long as you're under 34, and provided you're not an injury history risk, you're typically, as a guard, coming into your own in your early mid 30s. You know what I mean? You're kind of reaching your peak right around 32, 33, 34. That's when a lot of these guys hit their stride and become top guards. So I mean, I'm not too worried about that.
And I think being in a win now situation,
Yeah.
Right. I think age is a little bit of less of a consideration because realistically, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and they don't care what these guys are going to do 2 years from now, right? This is the window. So I think you have to get the best that you can, the best you can get with the contract constraints. I think Zeitler should be their number one target, honestly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you also need to consider that we do need some tackle help this year, right? And what position is more important, tackle or guard?
Yeah, well, tackle, of course.
Yeah, but I think we can. But I also think with a guy like Rodgers, right? The thing that you've always heard about, especially older quarterbacks, they don't like pressure in their face, right? Rodgers is very adept at, moving away from pressure that comes from his outside, right? But if he's getting pressure right in his face, that's going to bother him.
And that, right? and to add to that, that makes sense. We saw what Joe Flacco was able to do to the Jets this year with both tackles out for season, still smoked us through for 300, plus yards. Why? Because he had 2 Pro Bowl interior guys still, starting as John pointed out, previously. So, when you have some strong pieces on the inside, I think that can kind of alleviate, pressure in other ways.
Here's another thought too, right? So Wes kind of started showing up at the end of last year, and he got hurt at one point. He might be starter potential. I mean, maybe this is what the Jets could do, right? Instead of going for Zeitler, right, which would be cool, right? But and $7.5 million is not bad. Why don't you just get 2 guys, right? Glasgow and Van Roden, bring them in, and you could basically get them for the same money, right? Essentially, and then Wes, then just have them all compete, right? Does that make sense? And then I guess with tackle, right? That's like 3 tackles right there, right? With West, right? And then AVT, maybe you could slide in the tackle and just keep him there, right? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But then, the reason why I say is because you do need a tackle too. And if we were to look at the tackle market and the prices on these guys, everyone can see the tackle market here, right? It's a little different, right? Some of these names are big names, right? Actually, Becton made the list as number 4, which is really funny. He's only expected to get $5 million, but look at the PFF war. Oof.
Yeah.
He's worse than the group. He's expected to get more money.
He should be paying them.
Right.
Expect to get more than Donovan Smith, as much money as, I guess, Fant, right? Yeah, and Fant was actually pretty decent. But there's a lot of ways you could do this, right? And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, right? I guess the combine's the first thing, right? Because you're going to kind of get an idea of maybe some guards you can get kind of later on in the draft, right? Because typically, just so you guys know, and Monty, I'll make you be the expert on this because you have those charts, if you remember, where it basically calls the bust rate, essentially. Essentially, if you could pull that up while we do this, because I'm sharing screen right now, that'd be super sweet. But essentially, if you can, not great. We can do it for another episode. But basically, the way it works is, right, basically, obviously, first rounder has the highest hit rate amongst all positions, right? But there's certain positions that are premium positions, and there's some that are not, right? So the premium positions would be quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, edge rusher, right? And cornerback too, right? But certain positions have bigger bust rates or unusable rates, right? As you go later in the draft, right? However, certain positions, because they're not highly coveted in that first round, right? The hit rate on those in later rounds is still reasonable, right? So that you can actually find a franchise center or guard in a later round, right? So whereas it's a lot more difficult to do that with a wide receiver or a quarterback, right? So it's just so maybe the combine will kind of tell us, hey, there's some guys there that maybe make sense, right? Someone else thought I need some water, but but I think that's just maybe that's the way to go, right? Because this tackle market's going to be expensive. Maybe Tyron Smith is maybe the move, right? Just because he's so good, right?
I
don't know. What do you guys think?
Sean, I think what you said, I think, when AVT played tackle, he was excellent, right? And if you can move him to tackle, keep Tippmann at center, and bring in 2 guards, then you're just looking at a tackle at number 10, right? And as we looked at it, there are quality guards that are available. You have Schweitzer on your roster, so you have some flexibility on the inside there where you can bring in a couple of guys. If you can move AVT to left tackle, and draft a right tackle, AVT stays healthy, you have your bookend tackles for the next 10 years, right? And you have your center. So I think that is kind of the way I would like to see them go, because I agree with you, John. It's going to be difficult to find two high quality tackles in free agency, and you may have to, like you said, bite the bullet and have a guy like Schweitzer as a starter. I mean, I think I saw earlier today, he's started a bunch of games in his career, so he's not new to starting, and he's versatile. So I think that might be the way to go. And then I think if you're going to go tackle in the first round, right, then I don't know if, in the third round, you're looking at interior offensive linemen. So I think it depends a lot what they do in free agency. Obviously, will dictate the draft. And I think the combine will have a little bit to do with that. But, I think it's going to be after we see what they do in the draft is where we're going to start. I think AVT moving to tackle is maybe the best move they can make.
Yeah. And then obviously we can talk about a guy who's going to be a free agent that has done a lot of injury history, right? Bakhtiari, right? But I know how we all feel about that. I'm kind of more for it if it's really cheap, but if not, then I get it.
It's all about the price. It's all about the price tag. With
John,
with
can I ask why? Like, I guess I just don't understand, like the thought process of. And we talked about this, previously, but he's averaged 4.33 games played over the
3 years. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I can't justify a roster spot for somebody like that. And listen, healthy, you're paying whatever he wants, right? Or he's not leaving Green Bay. But they're releasing him for a reason, and it's unfortunate.
Because of the injuries and the cap hit is crazy for Bakhtiari.
Absolutely.
$33 million because of the way it was loaded.
Of course. And I think that's the big issue that you have with him is just it's the injuries are too much, right? And it's kind of the same injury. It's his knees. So it's not like it's just these like freak injuries that they're having.
It's got to make sense. It's got to make sense money wise. I think it can if if we can beat them up on price and get them cheap enough, it's possible. And then there's a veteran presence that you have in the in the room, basically like a what Aaron Rodgers does for the for the offense. He can kind of do that for the line. I think you think of it that way. I totally agree with you, though. I mean, it's hard to justify at the few number of games he's played if there's some sort of incentivized contract that we can do based on how much he plays, this and that. There's a lot of ways to exotically, draw up these contracts. If we can do it in a way that's super, super favorable for the Jets, then sure, go for it. But I'm leaning more towards your side, Adnan, but I see what John's saying. If the price is there, if the contract is appealing enough, you got to try to get those veterans in there, because I mean, someone like that, even if let's say he only plays 5 games, that's but he plays, lights out in those 5 games, and then he's able to be a veteran presence for the rest of the season, and we got him for next to nothing. It might be worth it.
Yeah, but is that what you want?
It could be worth it. It could be worth it. That's the thing. Like, let's just say that. Let's just look at this tackle market right here. Right now, let's just say Bakhtiari is like an exotic deal, right? Let's say it's a $4 million deal with incentives, right? Mm-hmm. That can get him up to $8 million, right? And Bakhtiari, when he plays, even in the limited action he had the last 3 years, he was arguably one of the best left tackles in the game. Even in the limited amount of action that he got, like his grades are that good, and like his blocking efficiency is just that good. But like, let's just say he's $4 million, and it's a wasted spot, an IR spot in the end, right? Just look at these people that are here, right? What would you rather take? Tyron Smith for $10 million or Bakhtiari for $4
million? Yeah, and I get it.
Go through the list real quick. Tyron or Bakhtiari?
Tyron.
Right? Yeah, I would too. That just makes sense. Okay. Now, Trent, at 7.5 a year, $15 million total, or Bakhtiari?
I don't know.
I mean, can the answer be neither? Right? Like, but you don't have, but John, you don't have to get another tackle if you move AVT and draft a tackle. Right? You have an in-house solution, and you're going to use that 10th pick on a tackle, fortify the inside of the offensive line with 2 guards. You'll have some decent backup options, and let's go from there. Right? Overpaying for a tackle, bringing in a guy like Bakhtiari, who is then going to mess with the continuity of the offensive line in and out of the lineup, I don't think that's what this team needs right now.
Okay, I understand, but hypothetically speaking, if the guy can make it through the whole season, right? Let's say I can guarantee you 12 games out of him, right? 12 games. Would you take that over these guys that are on this?
But here's the thing. If you can guarantee 12 games, he's not coming at a discount. Because Tyron Smith is giving you 12 games a season.
Well, he is coming at a discount because right now he can't guarantee that. But, we see this all the time. Guys hit years where, 2-3 years, they just can't get it together and they can't stay healthy. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they play like 2-3 years and it's like they were never hurt. It's like they never had any issues. I've seen that plenty of times.
And I would agree with that if it was like, man, he's pulled a hamstring and just can't get it right? Like, it's like, these are knee issues. And guys that are older, it's hard to come back. Look at Becton. He's not all the way back from a knee injury, and he's 24, whatever, how old we're
Becton might be a ton of things, though. It might be coaching with him. It might be, quarterback. There's a lot of stuff
I'm just
there
saying,
with Becton.
Coming back from the injury, right? Like, it's hard for him at 24 to come all the way back from a knee. Yeah. So I just, and listen, I don't want to denigrate him at all. Like, he's been a great player. And I just don't think for a win now team, you can have a lot of unknowns. And Bakhtiari is a massive unknown.
I know.
Yeah.
Look how good this is, though, when it's in the lineup. That's the thing. Like, this is elite all across the board. Even these last couple of years where it's been limited, right? It's still elite. That's the thing, He doesn't allow any pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, dude,
and he drinks beer better than anybody. No question.
Yeah,
no question.
Look,
solid beer drinking skills.
Yeah, and that's
solid. Better than you.
If this was a,
you haven't seen me really go at it. I don't know.
You have a beer on your phone, or is Monday too inefficient right now?
Yeah, Monday's too inefficient for beer, but I actually don't right now. But
I'm gonna get
one day I'll show you.
Try get the clip of Bakhtiari drinking 3 beers within a couple seconds, man.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, dude,
it's so good, man. He just drinks that shit like it's no problem, man.
He's an impressive dude, no doubt about it, right? But it really, and this team with injuries.
I totally hear you. I totally hear you. I get it, and I wasn't excited. I want nothing to do with it, for any sort of high price or any sort of it would have to be like the ultimate sweetheart deal to where you have the commentators and the talking heads on online and on ESPN saying, wow, how did the Jets pull off that deal? If we had a deal like that, then I'm okay with it. But if it's not something like that, then I firmly agree.
Look at these beer chugging skills, man. Look at these beer chugging skills.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Really hot.
Yeah.
Boom.
One. No problem.
He's massive, though. Look,
here it comes.
Two.
Look at those beers in his hand.
Absolute demon.
Seconds.
Absolute demon.
Rodgers.
Look, Rodgers tries to keep up, and he just can't. His beer's not even full.
Yeah, but his beers are bigger than it looks like.
No, Bakhtiari's just a massive human being.
Nope.
Yeah, he said no.
Yeah.
Me? Yeah.
Another one.
Right. Yeah, listen, man. Yeah, I mean, listen. If he took a really, really, like you said, Monty, a sweetheart deal with the acknowledgement that
you better play some damn games.
No, that AVT's the starter at left tackle, rookies to start at right tackle and he'll be a swing tackle, fine. I'm good with that too. But if you expect him to start and be a contributor, I want no part of that. But we digressed a lot there, so I apologize.
Yeah.
But we did
we
did get to see it.
We would have talked about this more probably last week, but a certain somebody decided to take a nap.
Hey man, yeah, that's. Hey, listen, I'm feeling much better now, and I'm ready to rock. I think.
Also, here's another thing that. Once again, I just want to emphasize the Laken money that is saved there. Some of it can be used to retain a fan favorite of ours, right? Which is interesting in itself too. A lot of things. What?
Who did you say?
Bryce Huff.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You could structure in a way. I mean, right now PFF, just so you know, is projecting 3 times 16 million and change, so that'd be 48 mil over. With like 2/3 of it guaranteed.
Which I think is what I was hearing, as far away as like 4 weeks ago, that might be the case.
There are also a lot of other restructures, man. I mean, look, JFM. If I had to pick between JFM or Huff, I'm sorry, you got to go Huff.
Yeah,
right?
have to play the inside though. That's the thing, and he's important on that third down pass rush to move him inside to Quinnen.
Man, it's hard, man, because he's been used so situationally.
He's always there. He's always available too.
I'm not saying cut him. You can restructure him. I'm sure you take a reasonable restructure to create some more money for Huff, right? So, I mean, I think now with that and with some of the other moves they can make, perhaps they can retain him, and that would be spectacular. But, we'll see what happens there.
Can I actually share something with you guys about Bryce Huff? Well, actually, this is interesting. So I asked this guy, L. Ron Hubbard. Does anyone know who he is, basically? He's the
author and founder of Science.
But this guy is L. Ron Hubbard, right? Let me just say that. And I asked him basically, what should the Jets re-sign Bryce Huff? And do you guys want to see what he responded with?
Lay it on us.
Okay. All right. So he's like, yes. L. Ron Hubbard said this. The contemplation of the New York Jets and their dance with Bryce Huff. It's a question that sails across the tumultuous seas of NFL strategy and roster management, isn't it? Now let's navigate these waters with a bit of poise and foresight, shall we? Bryce Huff, you see, has shown himself to be a player with a commendable burst of energy on the field, a linebacker who can indeed pressure the quarterback and disrupt the offensive line with the zeal of a celestial comet streaking across the night sky. His performance, don't you see, has been like a beacon in the fog for a team that often finds itself navigating the treacherous waters of the league. But here's where the plot thickens. The decision to re-sign him should not be taken lightly. It requires a vision that peers beyond the horizon, understanding not just the player's current contributions, but also his potential to grow and adapt. The Jets, in their quest for glory, must weigh the scales of talent, potential, and financial prudence with their delicacy of a master navigator charting a course through uncharted waters. The question is not merely about Huff's ability to perform, but also about the harmony of the team's constellation of stars. How does he fit into the grand scheme, the overarching voyage towards success? Is he the North Star for the Jets, guiding them through the night, or a passing comet, brilliant but ephemeral? In the grand cosmic ballad, the decision to re-sign Bryce Huff should be made with an eye towards not just the immediate battles, but the long war. The Jets need warriors who are not just effective in the heat of the moment, but can also endure through the seasons, adapting, growing, and contributing to the team's ethos. Okay, so he goes on for a while, but what you guys like this so far or no?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like the part where he said, "Is he a passing, comet, or is he a fixture in the constellation?" And I gotta say, I'm leaning towards the comet thing. I think he could be. I think he could be. But not for 18. Not for 16 million a year.
Yeah, but that's what pass rushers go for, man. Guy had 10.5 sacks.
Yeah, but he's a pass rusher with a limited, resume.
Yeah, but
one good year.
But again, he's 26.
He's been great.
He's that better.
I'm not saying he hasn't, but I'm saying it's still 1 year. It's still one good year. It's still only one good year. No matter how good that year is, and it's not record-breaking great. It's great. It's not record-breaking great. So it's one good year. It's a great year, but it's one good year. Oh, by the way, to that point before, I just saw that they already restructured JFM's contract in 23.
Ooh.
Yeah, they restructured his contract back in 2023 to free up $4.8 million.
Oh no, they were talking about doing it again in 2024.
Yeah, but have they done that twice back to back? Like, you think he would go for that?
I don't know when the Jets have done it, but I know that the Saints are notorious for doing that.
Yeah,
and fighting them in the butt right now.
Yeah,
but the cap is a lot more than we thought it would this year. It's like 250 something this year versus.
Yeah, I think it went up 30 million. So that's a big thing. You know, and
that's a big help for us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Huff is something that we will definitely be able to talk about a lot in the coming weeks. Free agency is right around the corner, so I think that's going to be, an interesting, intersection of everything we're talking about, and will really show us, what the Jets think about Will McDonald. Will really show us what they think about, the completeness of their defense. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But I think, and let me know what you guys think, maybe we could pivot a little bit to the combine since it starts today. There are going to be a lot of things that I think will be coming out. Jets related, maybe not Jets related. But I think one of the things that I saw, and I think you guys may have saw this as well, which just bothers me, right, is Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, right? They had their headline about, coaches aren't going to the combine, and Robert Saleh is one of them. Just like a shot at the Jets. Then they put out another one where they named another coach. And it's
I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of being the most talked about team that doesn't do shit. I'm sick of it. Stop talking about the goddamn Jets. Leave us the fuck alone, bro. They talk about us like we're the goddamn, we win the Super Bowl every year is how we get talked about. No, all we do is have great loyal fans who go to every game, even though our team has been terrible for over a decade. Yeah, we just have loyal, great fans, and we suffer it out through every game, and then we have to go through that and then deal with the friggin' media every week, shitting on us for what? Why? Leave us the fuck alone, bro. Every shot.
Market. We are a New York market.
I know.
One of the most valued franchises in the NFL, right?
Miami's a market. LA is a market.
Yeah, we're not
Chicago.
They're not us. And we have the largest TV market, right? We're little brother to the Giants, right? Mm-hmm. And the Giants have 4 Super Bowls and several NFL championships prior to both.
Listen, I know why. I'm just saying, shut the hell up. It's really
happen, man. I mean,
that's more my thing.
And until we do something really well, and then and it falls in our faces.
No,
again.
It's gonna get worse when we do something.
That's exactly it, right? It's
not gonna get better.
But you know what it is? The Jets will never get the treatment that the Lions do, right? Oh, the lovable losers. Now they're really good.
Now they're good. Great.
It's gonna be, look at the Jets. They won. They had to pay mercenary Aaron Rodgers. And, right? It's never going to be a positive spin on the Jets. And it's okay, fine. Maybe it won't, but it doesn't mean we have to like it. You know, it drives me nuts that everything about this team is just negative. And it's enough is enough, man. Like you said, Monty, it's like you're talking about, the Patriots dynasty, that Spygate, Deflategate, but who cares? They're winning championships.
Biggest market in one of the 5, let's say, true sufferers of just everything, right?
Yeah.
Us, the Browns, the Lions. I'm going to throw the Bills in there despite their recent success, although they do get a lot of harsh criticism too, right? And I can throw the Bengals in there too, to be totally fair, because they've had some really bad times too, right? But really, the big 3: Jets, Browns, and Lions, right? And of those teams, and even the Bills and the Bengals, if you want to throw them in there, they're just not the same TV markets, right? They're just not at all. I mean, we're a New York team, I mean, Monty, sorry, Adnan, you are a Mets fan, and you guys get the same kind of hate that the Jets do, right? To be totally honest, right?
Right. And what I'll say is I get the reasoning behind it, even though I think it's just, and I think this happens now, especially with the proliferation of social media and everything. It's just always about the low-hanging fruit, right? Just like leave Jet fans and just leave them alone until they win. Then do whatever you want, right? I feel like with the Lions, everybody wanted the Lions to get to the Super Bowl except San Francisco fans, except all the teams they played along the way. With the Jets, you think outside of Jet fans, anybody is going to want the Jets to make it to a Super Bowl?
See, I think because of what happened to us this year, I think we saw it a little bit, throughout the season. People were kind of rooting for us a little bit. I mean, like, remember coming to the games with me, right? We were talking to like Patriot fans that came to the Jet games, Kansas City fans and all that. They were all kind of like, yeah, we really felt that one for you guys, I think it's a little different this time going into next year, right? Like, just because we've been hit hard so often,
that's condescending bullshit, right? That's like anytime you say, "Hey, I'm a Jet fan," and people are just like, "Oh man," right? It's like, get out of here with that. Like, I don't need to hear that. It's annoying. But enough about that. I just wanted to vent on that a little bit.
I feel you, bro. I always
combine. You want to talk combine?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So basically, what are we looking forward to in the combine? Looking at tackles, wide receivers, probably, right? Guards can be a little interesting, and centers, right? Interior offensive linemen, just because. I mean, our next pick is the 3rd round pick, right? So like. But here's the thing I think that's going to be very interesting. If these tackles and this tackle class is going to be pretty good, it looks like, right? And it's not just Fashanu, Fuaga, Latham, Guyton. There's a bunch of guys in this draft.
There's some studs in there. Yeah, exactly. Definitely enough for us to get one.
Yeah, and there's also some receivers in this draft too, right? And there's a lot of quarterbacks that teams are going to want to trade up for potentially. I mean, if the combine goes how I think and these tackles look out of this world, and there's a lot of them, right? Maybe the Jets do trade back, right? Maybe they do, right? I think just to gather some more draft capital, right? I think it's just going to be very interesting to see kind of how this combine goes. So I don't know. What I'm looking forward to is just to see how these tackles measure up, right? I mean, the combine is a cattle ranch essentially, right? And basically these guys might as well dress up like cows, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I always think about that too. It's like the only thing they're missing is the tags in the ear, is to kind of differentiate them. Yeah, exactly.
And Monty, just so you know, you're fading in and out.
Okay, let me fix
visually. So I know you want to post your Jets thing in the background, but whatever. Maybe just
there we go.
Yeah. It's all good. Okay, so we're good there. But yeah, essentially, like, I don't know. I just want to see how Guyton really grades out, right? Because I just want to see Fuaga. I mean, everything can change with this combine, right? Because people get combine hungry with this, right? Yep. Some GMs really covet it, right? And others just do not. So, and yeah, I guess it's interesting, right? Because we talked about, I guess Salah's not going, right? That's one thing that we kind of heard, right? In this right? I mean, I guess it would make more sense for our offensive coaches to go, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think
wasn't he supposed to take more of a role in the offense per Woody Johnson and that starts here. That starts now.
But when we look at a lot of coaches aren't going. It's not just Salah and 2 other guys, right? And I think this is more of like a GM convention, more of a thing where it's, this is where deals are done. This is where trades are made. This is where the framework of, hey, listen, if this guy isn't there at 10, what would you think about moving up if your guy is there, right? Like, this is where these conversations happen. I don't think Salah needs to be there for that. I don't think any coaches really need to be there for that.
Here's why
the coaches go to the pro days, right? The coaches go to pro days and all that. So I don't think it's a big deal that he's not there for this.
I don't think it's a big deal, but I think, again, it's about setting the tone, and it's about attitude, and it's about him showing that, hey, I'm all over it this time. I'm not letting anything go to chance. I'm getting my hands dirty. It's like in a business, right? I've seen this before when a CEO or, an operations guy comes in and needs to turn around a company. What's he do? He gets his hands dirty. He gets down to the baseline level. He talks to the people on the front lines. He talks to their managers. He works his way up the chain. And then he figures out, from his knowledge perspective and from what he's seen directly with his own eyes, how to kind of turn things around. And I think when you're in a situation where the Jets are where they are, and we have this kind of a prove it, do or die year, I think it can only help for him to be as involved as is humanly possible throughout, all the facets in terms of this organization. And, we know what he can do on defense. I can't believe that he would be a complete moron bozo on offense. He has to know X's and O's to some degree. I'm not saying he's going to be doing our playbook and, telling Aaron Rodgers what to do, but he should be more involved wherever he can.
Well, you also got to remember this. They coach defense against offense. He should definitely know, right?
So he should know.
Yeah, he should know. He knows how to stop an offense. Oh, what works against you, But
Correct.
Also mind you this, Ulbrich was coach of the Senior Bowl, right? So we did get a little bit more insight than maybe typical, right? For these guys that are coming out. And yeah, it's only the seniors, right? But there's some good seniors that went to that. Guyton was one of them, right? Fuaga, a name like right? I think was Latham in JC Latham in there too?
I think so. I was reading somewhere, and I think this was the first year or the second year where juniors went to the Senior Bowl as well.
There you go.
So I think there were a lot of players that Ulbrich was able to really, get some good insight on. So I think that might be another reason into this decision as well. But I don't think he went last year either, but it is what it is. But I agree with you, Monty. I think that's a good point, especially coming from kind of the mandate that Woody, laid out, that he's going to be more involved with the offense and offense. So that's a really good call out. I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just going to be really interesting just to see how it all plays out, right, in the combine. And then obviously that's going to lead our decision making. Or maybe the strategy this year is to really just maybe trade those picks, right, for something, So maybe that's why we're not thinking even about going to the combine, right? Because, hey, we're negotiating give away pick 10 for maybe something, right? I don't know. I don't know. Because, we've talked about, there's been talks, right? Devontae Adams is one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. Another, maybe your favorite and a favorite of a lot of ours, Brandon Ayuk, another one. Because that would be really cheap. If you traded for that cap hit is so friendly, right? It's $1 million basically, somewhere in that range, right?
I'm all on that. Yeah, I'm all for that. Bring Ayuk over here.
He's top talent, that guy was just not used because there's so many mouths to feed in that offense.
Right, exactly.
So I don't know. The question is, let's say if you solve all the things with the offensive line and free agency somehow, right? And you were gonna basically use pick 10 for best available at that point, right? Is pick 10 worth the trading away for Brandon Ayuk or something like that? That's a question, Maybe
I think so. I think he's first round without question, consistent, level talent. I would. I think he's a top 15 receiver easily, if not top 10.
Yeah, and I think he'd be a good compliment to Garrett. And I think
Absolutely.
that would be, good. But I feel like
Devontae, but
I feel like so. What he's angling for, from what I've gathered, is he wants to get paid also.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he would. In this situation, it would just be like he's on the fourth year coming up. Right, so you would basically charge with fourth year on Ayuk, and then 25 and beyond would be a new deal with where it'd be cap in the back and not so bad in the front. Right?
Yeah, some voidable years and all that.
I would love it. If you can get a proven commodity like him, as opposed to as great as these prospects look, they're prospects, right?
Correct.
And if you can get a proven commodity like Ayuk at 10. I think that's more realistic than Devontae Adams, because I just don't think the Raiders have any interest in trading him, especially if they find a way to trade up and get a quarterback or whatever the case may be. But I would that's interesting. I think trading down is a really big possibility, especially like you said, John, how these kind of tackles look. If you have 6 tackles with first round grades and you can drop down a couple of picks and get your second rounder back, that's something you do, especially
that's huge, yeah.
If one of these quarterbacks or receivers falls, or if Brock Bowers falls for 10.
That's what I was just going to say. If Brock Bowers falls, then
jump up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just so much that could be done here in this class, right? I mean, just to kind of go through the names that are kind of popping up here, right? I mean, I'm just going to read the order, I guess, of everything here. Well, actually, why read it when I could just share screen?
Yeah,
right?
Throw it on the screen.
Yeah, right now, right? Let me see if I can organize this in a way. Wish I could just do this in Excel again, but, just because except it's going to have pictures and stuff like that. The pictures are always kind of nice, right? Come on, there we go. Oh, damn it! It's showing the wrong screen. That's okay. That's okay. I can recover from this. I'll be okay, boys. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Go down here. So obviously Joe Alt, the big name that everyone's talked about. I mean, the rating is just ridiculous. But then everything else is really, and obviously I think Alt's out of the question unless you trade up, right? You got Fashano, Fuaga. We can go to that clip at some point. Which one do you go to? I think that was really funny. Latham is still very close. Mims is another big name that's in question. Morgan, Bautanu, Guyton is really low, but still, this 86 would have been one of the highest last year, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just a real interesting situation,
John, what are you showing right now?
Can you try to
try to doing it? Oh. All right.
Yeah, I thought you had it. Yes.
Oh, you know what? I know exactly what happened. I presented the wrong screen, and it's going to this stupid link. All right. Let me
Monty, you're going in and out also.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when I get too far away, I think.
Okay, so that was a real foul on my part. My apologies to the fans. All Fashana, Waga, because I'm looking at another screen, right? Latham, Mims, Morgan, Bautanu, Guyton is interesting. And then I think it gets a little weak after that. But Martin's probably going to be a guard at some point. This kid's interesting too. This is a Yale kid, is that right?
BYU.
No, BYU. That's BYU. No, this guy's the Yale kid. This kid's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know yet. But at some point we're gonna have Blewett on, and he's gonna tell us more about this, if this makes sense, right?
Yeah. And I think looking at the options here, I mean, you could see 6 of these guys in the first round, right? So a trade down, and there are a lot of possibilities. This tackle class is much better than last year's. So, I think there are definitely a lot of options, and I think the Jets are in a really good spot. Thankfully, Douglas, got to give him credit, had the foresight to attach 60% to the first rounder. Otherwise, we'd be in some trouble.
Damn, JC Latham's pretty fast for
Yeah, that's faster than Becton and basically the same weight.
That's crazy.
Becton was a 5'2"? Becton was a 5'2", right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Latham, I'm feeling like he's the guy that I would want.
Sub 4'9" for a guy over 300 pounds is just insane.
All 6'8" and runs 4'9".
Yeah, he's got long strides.
I mean, the comments
he's
can't really tell you what it is, but still, this is what they're saying,
Yeah, Alt is just a physical freak. He's just good at everything.
Good jawline too, by the way. Even Guy. I guess this gets lower, right, at some point, But look how big these guys are. I mean, everyone's 6'5" and above, except for Bautanu, and I think Afuaga is 6'5". Okay.
Yeah, I actually looked at this, just prior to the podcast. The average NFL offensive tackle is about 6'5", 316 pounds.
All these guys are, they all have the weight.
So a lot of these guys are going to be bringing that number up.
Right on, and he's 6'4", so he's a little shorter. Probably be a guard, I think, in the next step, maybe. But yeah, they're all big boys. So it's going to be very interesting to see just kind of how that kind of goes. And my apologies to the 6 or 7 viewers that didn't. Where is he getting this from? How does he know? And all that. But it's all cool. So maybe that wraps it up because we're about an hour in. But I guess we could kind of reveal some nice little news that we're kind of working on the side, right? We basically got Izzy talking to his publicist, and he's basically kind of pretty much agreed to come on the show, which is unbelievable. Yep. And Abanaconda. That is how you say it.
We will have it right.
Well, I will have it right, and I'll only try it once. But I'm excited just because he is a New York kid. I mean, he's born and raised in Brooklyn, and we got to see some action with them this year. But I don't know. I will obviously have to do some real prep on that. Although I have some questions I wrote down. Some fun light ball stuff and all that, just so we can get to know him. We're not gonna ask him who do you think the Jets draft at pick 10?
Yeah, I know. Which it's not really something he would be in on too much. I'm sure he has his opinions, and just like any other player. But talk to him about what he's best at, knows, future stuff like that. I got some things. We definitely want to have a nice little chat with him.
It'd be great. Thinking maybe if we ask him what the Jets draft at pick 10, just give us a kind of personality that you think would be great for the locker room. Maybe something, right? And be able to show him that one clip that we're not going to spoil for this one that I got. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Don't ruin it. Hey, wait, really quick, guys. Out of Fuaga and Fashionow, who are you guys leaning to before we get off this subject completely?
We had a special guest ask that question. Do you want to go to that clip?
Let's see.
All right, let me get to it. All right, here we go.
Hey guys, at Laugh Through the Turbulence, Jon Lovitz here. I have a question. Do the New York Jets draft Olu Fashanu? God, these guys didn't pay me enough to say that name correctly. How the hell? Anyway, at a pick 10 or a Taliesin Fuaga. Oh, gee, really, with these names? Come on.
Shout out to Jon Lovitz.
That was something, my friend.
I mean, I guess what we could do is we can get into that in the next episode. Just replay it again and
let's do it.
But I think it's fun. I think that was funny. I mean, I got some really funny cameos done by a couple people. Not that bad. So if you're interested in getting some cameos from your favorite celebrities, you can go check that out. Some are more expensive than others. I want to save up for Ric Flair though at some point. I think that'd be really great. And big shout out to Fireman Ed for doing that one for us. He was a little hesitant because what I asked him to do initially was say not so great content. And he was like, only positive. And I'm like, no, dude. I rephrased it for him, right?
Yeah.
But I really appreciate that, Fireman Ed. We all do because we younger. We saw you in the crowd, just leading the chant.
I mean, we see him leading the chant every week when we're there, at all the games we're there. So, yeah.
But okay. So I guess now we're going to go to final thoughts, right? Adnan, you want to kind of start it off? Why not?
Absolutely. I think going back to our first topic, I think the Tomlinson cut was necessary. Somebody who, again, great guy, warrior, played every game while he was here, and definitely appreciate his time. But definitely needed to make this move and was a little surprised that they did actually pull the trigger. So it's good to see them making these tough moves. And wish him nothing but the best. But I think in the long run, this is going to be better, better for the Jets. Free agency coming up. The combine is here. We're going to have a lot to talk about moving forward. And we'll keep it moving. But I think the most important thing today is Tomlinson is gone. And we're going to have basically a brand new interior offensive line from last season. So that's going to be interesting. Just looking forward to see what comes out of the combine next week, and we'll recap or this week, and we'll recap all that next week.
Definitely hyped for the combine. Hyped to see what this new line is going to look like. Unfortunately, Laken is someone I've kind of had on my list as far as guys I'd like to see kind of move away from the team and us to, be able to start a new page and start fresh with on the offensive line. So, listen, he's been a warrior. He played hard. He did his best, but it, didn't work out. I hope he does well elsewhere. But for right now, I'm excited about the fact that we get to, see a bunch of new blood on this offensive line, and hopefully that's going to be the difference maker for this team. And then just regarding, the Bryce Huff situation, I think that we really should look into potentially, a tag and trade possibly. At least so we get that value out of him, because we saw I believe the Texans did it in 2019 with Jadeveon Clowney. They signed him specifically just to tag and just to trade. I mean, they tagged him just to trade him. Like, they knew 100% they were definitely going to be trading him. I think we can do the same thing, at least with Huff. So if we do have to part ways, at least we're getting something, of value, back. But, just very excited at this point. The world's our oyster. We have a lot of time left in this off season. We have the draft still ahead of us. We have free agency still ahead of us. It's definitely an exciting time. We'll be watching it very closely, and we're going to have a lot more content for the fans and for everyone, in these coming weeks with every new move and every new thing that comes out.
Yeah. I really enjoy doing this stupid thing,
man, it's great.
This is fun. Yeah, this is fun. I think I'm excited for the combine. I mean, I'm gonna try and watch some of it, although I think I prefer golfing over that. But obviously we have a job to do, which is report to whatever dozens fans that actually watch this thing, right? And we're gonna do better in terms of making better content, and I'm really excited to get Izzy on. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully, it goes really well and we get some more guys on too. But Izzy's good. It sounds like a good dude. I mean, I've seen some of his interviews and all that, little snippets, right? And he seems like a great guy. And part of this regime was getting guys that not only can play but also were good culture fits, right?
And that's one thing they've done well.
Yeah, these are my thoughts, dude. But yeah, essentially, yeah. And it sucks that because Laken seemed like a great guy, right? And he was a good culture fit. And it's gonna suck that it didn't work out, right? It's probably it's definitely his worst free agent signing of all of them, right? By far. Just because it didn't produce the output that the money sent over was for, right? You could argue that or Zach, right? Zach, obviously, you had to draft a quarterback that year. You were in a position to, and none of them would have worked out anywhere. It doesn't look like it, right? Zach didn't work out. Trey Lance is on a second team. Mac Jones is getting ousted for something new, probably, right? And then Justin Fields, who knows what's going to happen in Chicago, right? But anyway, I'm just excited to see what comes up because the season really does start with this combine, right? And obviously we've seen some news like Higgins being tagged and all that. So, but we'll get into that later. But in the meantime, I just want to say this. Patriots. Fuck the Dolphins. Fuck the Bills. Go Jets. And I'm taking off my shirt just because I want to show this shirt here. Brady, deflate these balls, baby. Deflate these balls.
Amazing.
That's funny.
All right. Appreciate everyone who watched. Thank you, and have a good night.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone.